Hello everyone, this is Mary Ann, and here is my update video for this week for One Book July 2017. This would be my 6th video for this project. Now, here's just a brief summary of how I did on Monday, July 24th. I was busy at work, wasn't able to study, but on Tuesday I went to school and I saw my professor and I talked to her for an hour about my framework, which was my subject for my One Book July project. And it was really a good decision to talk to her that day because we were able to refine my focus and redefine my goals, and therefore I can think clearer in making my framework. And then on Wednesday I was able to get some studying done, and I'm still on the Mijares book at this point. And on Tuesday I was able to get some reading done also, and I was able to journal about what I have read. And on Friday, I was able to read just a little bit, but I was busy at school. Saturday, I was able to get some studying done, but I also had some important things to do. And on Sunday, I was reading for during the wee hours of the morning, like 2 o'clock until 3 or 4. And then I, I actually finished the Russell Mohades book on Sunday. And then I shifted to the next book that I have in line, which is The Haunting of the Korean Diaspora, written by Grace Cho, and it's a very, very good book. Now, here is how my journaling has fared for the week. I was able to journal after I talked to my professor, and this would be the reading lineup that I have set for myself with her guidance. I'm now on the Grace Cho book, and then I'm going to start alternating it with the actual novels that I'm going to be discussing in my thesis. I have already identified some of the novels that I think are going to be appropriate for my thesis. I am 90% sure of these novels after my professor was able to give me some guidance. And I actually didn't journal so much this week because I felt that I didn't really need to. My framework was already cemented in my mind, and all I really need to do is write it down. So I didn't argue with myself too much this week. I am really glad that I am finally moving forward. And like I mentioned, I went back to school on Tuesday to talk to my professor, and I am just showing you here again the installation that I showed in my earlier video vlog about the rainy afternoon in school. And here is how it looks like without the rain. This is actually beside the covered walkway that you can see there. That is the walkway that we all walk on when we are going to the faculty center that burned down in April of last year, and also to the Palma Hall and the pavilion where the offices from the faculty center have been relocated. And here is the view. That is Palma Hall, that is the side of Palma Hall, which I showed the front of in my previous vlog. And this is the area where the offices of the faculty center have been relocated after the faculty center burned down. As you can see, those trees are very, very old, and I'm glad that the university has decided to hold on to them for this long. Here we are now where the offices are. This is the graduate school office of the dean of the graduate school. That would be the corridor where the other offices are, and that would be the bulletin board of the offices that are located here in this area. And we are now walking towards the Department of English and Comparative Literature. That is their billboard, and this would be the door of the department. And this here is where I have already been meeting with my professor. She had to talk to someone off outside of the frame, but while she was talking to that someone, she asked me to write down the framework that I am thinking of right off the top of my head after we have talked about it for about 20 minutes. So while the ideas are still fresh in my head, she asked me to write it down, and that's what I am doing in this particular video. I have translated spectrality into a local word, kababalaghan, and there I am just writing down some questions and some angles and some ideas that are directly related to my use of the kababalaghan, some questions that need to be answered by that thesis, or some questions that I need to be considerate of or sensitive of when formulating my framework and for doing this the thesis in general, so that I don't miss out on any aspect of the kababalaghan. Here is the Rasil Mijares book that I was on this week. After I talked to my professor, I was very, very eager to finish that book and move on to the books that we have outlined. And finally, as I have mentioned, I have finished reading this book and I have gotten a lot from it. It's a very insightful book, and the final chapter of it, the chapter that talks about the Philippine novel in English, had a lot of information in it that I can use directly in my study. And at the end of the book, I went back to my original question. I wanted to see in this book if the Filipino novel in English is a spectral form, and if it is, what makes it spectral? And the answer is no. The Philippine novel in English is not a spectral form. So there's really nothing there. It's just a very highly evolved literary form. But despite the fact that I did not find anything spectral or kababalaghan in the Philippine novel in English as a literary form, I can still use a lot of things from this book. And I'm going to take all of those post-it notes, not just these ones in the front, but also the ones that I have pasted on the pages of the book. I'm going to gather them all together and put them in one place. I'm going to show you later what my plans are for that. And that's going to be the method that I'm going to be using for all of the readings and books that I'm going to be dealing with during the course of my research. I have already started on last Sunday. I've started reading the next book in the lineup. It's just a printout of a PDF that I have, and so I bound it myself. I made the covers, and then I used the double loop rings to bind it together. This is called The Haunting of the Korean Diaspora, written by Grace Cho. And it's a very, very good book. Just at the beginning, I could see that her language was different. She had that, she's very articulate, and the diction that she uses has a very emotive appeal. Right now, I am on that page and I'm going to continue. But I still plan to read the others that I have mentioned in my previous update video for One Book July. I'm still going to be reading the Derrida book, which I will have to bind, by the way, because it's not very easy to read these printouts when in loose leaf. And I am also going to be reading still The Blood of Government by Paul Kramer, which I also have to bind. But aside from these three that I have already mentioned, I also have purchased a bunch of books. This one here is Orientalists, Propagandists, and Ilustrados, and this one here is about feeding Manila, about merchants, transporters, storekeepers, and door-to-door vendors, the people that actually kept Manila well fed. And then I'm excited about this one. It's called The Migration Revolution by Filomeno Aguilar. And this one is directly related to my thesis because I'm now going to focus on the diaspora or the creation of the diaspora because of labor exports. And this book here is Imagined Communities by Bernard Anderson, and I have Caroline House book. There is a chapter there that I think would be interesting. It's chapter 4, Ilustrados and OFWs, or Overseas Filipino Workers. These are the migrants that I'm going to be talking about that compose the diaspora. And then Russell Mijares has a new book. It's a collection of his essays, or it's a collection of his lectures that he gave at the Ateneo. And I'm not sure if there's anything here that is directly related to my thesis, but we'll see. And then we have Ray Ileto's Knowledge and Pacification on the U.S. Conquest and the Writing of Philippine History. I have read his book, Passion and Revolution, and it's a very good book, and I always make it a point to read Ray Ileto because he really is a very fertile thinker. He really breaks things down for us. And here is a book by Neferti Tadiar, Things Fall Away. It's about globalization. And I'm not sure if I can find something here, but I really would like to read it because I also like Neferti Tadiar as an academic writer. Her writings are very robust. And here is one of the novels that I'm going to be tackling in my thesis. It is by Criselda Yabes. It's called Below the Crying Mountain. And, well, these are the books that I'm going to be reading for my thesis. I hope I don't take too long in reading them the way I took a long time finishing the Origins and Rise book, because this is a lot and I need to be able to write my framework by the end of August. I don't know. I'm not going to push myself too much, but I'm also not going to just give myself no deadlines. There has to be some kind of deadline. And I also purchased this clipboard because I realized that I needed a hard surface when I am out and about with my Cornell notes. So I purchased this. It's a very cheap, clear plastic clipboard that I purchased from National Bookstore for 120 pesos. And it's an A4 size, and it doesn't have a pen loop or any place to put a pen apparently, but I figured something out that I can use. I'll show you later. And the way I plan on using this, it's very straightforward. I'm just going to be putting all of my Cornell notes and grid paper notes on the clipboard, because when I am talking to my advisors or I'm doing library research and taking notes at the same time, I need to be able to write while standing up, standing in the stacks, recording what I find, and having a clipboard seems like the easiest solution to that. Now, the clipboard doesn't have any place to put a pen in it, but I have found a way to put a friction clicker pen. I just can hook it into that thing right there. It's not supposed to be for pens, but that's perfectly fine. I just need a place to put a pen so that I don't keep losing the pens. And I haven't really used the friction pen ever since I purchased it. I just keep using my fountain pen because it's more natural for me to use, but I don't know. Let's see. And here is where I'm going to place all of those post-it notes that I am going to harvest from the books that I have finished reading and annotating. I'm going to stick them into this notebook that I made with my notes on it, not just the post-it notes, but an expansion of the annotations that I made on the post-it notes, and some portions of writing that will actually go into my thesis. I made this notebook. I printed out, I created these grid papers, and then I created the top loading pocket at the back with the flap closure, and also the cover looks like plastic, but it's actually a top loading pocket also. that does not have a flap in it. I will be making a video about how I made this notebook because you might be wondering how you can make such a notebook for yourself as well. But for the most part, this is going to be the notebook that I will be using for my entire thesis proposal course. Now, I don't have any classes to go to anymore. I have enrolled in the thesis proposal for 6 units, so it's just going to be research, writing, and consultations with my advisor and my critic. So I am in the process of arming myself with all of the weapons that I'm going to be needing for that battle. I'm sorry to sound quite overdramatic, but I'm sure you get the point. And that is my update for One Book July. I'm already recording this on Monday, which is July 31, so officially July is pretty much over. But I will still come up with a final One Book July video, which will show where all of this has led to. And that is my update for this week. I hope you catch me on the final video that I'm going to upload for One Book July. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!